Okay, welcome.
Next, at a request to get an update on the compliance with the ag preservation restrictions on 66 Boston Road, and Abby, I know you've been kind enough to come tonight, so if you'd like to fill us in. I think it was October you were here last to share a plan and discuss loam, so season's about to begin again, so I figured it was a good time for an update.
The farmers must work, right? Season starts. Abby Masalehdan for Westwood Gateway LLC. Yeah, last time I was over here, I got permission to get the loam over to the farm, and unfortunately, because of the weather, et cetera, we couldn't spread it. Snow, rain, and next couple of weeks, hopefully, the land will dry up and we'll be able to get the loam on the upper APR 1 and get that spread, and hopefully put the rye down over there too. And my next question is, I need a kind of a direction from the Board of Selectmen what I should be doing next, because it's been 2 years since I've been going through this process, and I'm kind of getting tired of it, and I need to find out the direction from the Board of Selectmen and from the town manager that what I should be doing next. My next agenda would be, actually, I was kind of directed from one of the selectmen that I should have livestock over there, which I wouldn't hesitate to do it in 1 second. But that's not what I want to do. I want to actually put a restaurant in the APR 3 and make it a kind of a symbol for town of Westford. Now, there's a fire station across the farm. It's not really the gateway to Westford, but my plan will be the gateway to Westford, and it'll be a symbol of maybe a landmark for town of Westford. And as I've promised in the past, that I'm going to do everything to make it a beautiful, actually working farm that hasn't worked in past 40, 45 years. Take the two APR 1 and 2, make it a full compliance with the APR, and farm it, and put an orchard in there. And the APR 3, with the blessing of the selectmen, which apparently you had received a letter from Mr. McGregor in Boston that the selectmen have the ultimate authority to amend the APR. And I'm hoping that you guys will do the right thing and try to work with me and try to amend that APR and allow me to put the restaurant in there, and which have revised the size 3 times, and it's down to less than 15,000 square feet now. And I need a direction from you, and hopefully it'll be the right direction for me to follow.
Okay, we'll start, I guess. Who wants to go first? Mark?
So I think we should at least first separate the 2 parcels from the one. So on the 2 parcels where you're putting more loam
Right.
down and putting rye in, because I think we heard last year the rye has to be there for a couple of years before the soil.
I believe 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
2 years, right?
So why don't we first talk about
Okay.
where you are in spreading the loam and the rye?
I spread most of the APR 2, but section of APR 3, because it had no loam on it, it was all rock.
Right.
Which it was tested, they bored it like about 1.5 foot hole in there. It was all rock and stone. So
Right.
I brought in on 2,000 yards of loam to spread on the top part of the APR 1
Right.
to be able to grow greens and
So that loam that you have on the property now, you'll be spreading over the next couple of years, and I think we saw a report. that
next
said-
couple of weeks.
I'm sorry, next couple of
Yeah,
weeks,
next
not years.
couple of
And that soil has been tested as fine by Carol,
Right.
yeah? Right, so there's no issues
Results, right.
with that. Once that loam goes down, do you need to bring on more for,
No, I need to
the
put
2
lime
parcels?
down. Once that loam is put down,
Right.
I need to put lime in it, get the lime worked into it, till it, then I can put the rye on it and get the rye grown on the upper part of APR 1 also.
okay, so that just wanted to separate the 2 parcels that are being farmed versus the one that you want to do.
And I did put the, last time I mentioned, I did put the pipe down under APR 2 to get the water away from the road that was coming to the farm for past, God knows how many decades. And I corrected that too. And now,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? I guess since you asked the question, there is some, I guess, discussion as to who has the right to change APR 3.
Right.
It's been a town meeting twice. I think we set a precedent that it goes to town meeting. And personally, myself, town meeting bought the land. Town meeting, I think, should have a say in how we change that if we do. So I don't think this board has a role in telling you, guiding you what to do. I think that's kind of your decision. Just bearing in mind what town meeting has said twice, which is there's no appetite for a large restaurant there. I don't know what you say beyond that. I don't know if it's, would a small one work? I mean, the comments have always been keeping it in character with agriculture, which meant farm stand. But that's, again, the comments. And I would invite, we got a lot of people here from, I don't want to debate a restaurant tonight, but the intent was to get an update on the use of the land. But I guess I want to state, since you asked the question, I don't think this board is going to take a position to make a decision overall town meeting. We're going to take it to town meeting, just so we're on the same page.
I agree, and I think the APR, what we learned about the APR, the language in there, I mean, yes, maybe it could be construed that the selectmen can have, that we have the authority to make that change, but we would not go against what the voters have said twice at town meeting. And if you had some proposal that, we would expect the town meeting to make that change. And also I don't think there's a lot of clarity about how that APR would need to be changed. There's, to me, a lot of big questions yet about the process that would have to happen if that's a development, and if we're giving up, if we hold the development rights now and we're giving those back to you, what's that worth? What's the fair market value? And what's the legal process for us to sell development rights to a property? So there's no, for me, there's no easy answer on that, and it would have to, I think, be a lengthy process that everyone even agree on a process, and then whether or not the community agrees on the outcome is another step.
But I would have never bought the property if I wasn't told that it could happen. I was told by many people in this building that they checked me out, I was fine, I could do the project, and that's why I went by. Otherwise, I'm not a crazy person to go buy a property that's APR and try to put a restaurant on it, if I wasn't coerced into doing that. So, that's my answer. There are legal issues in here, there are legal challenges. It doesn't matter which way I will take them, but I need to do the right thing by the town people, by the selectmen, and that's my position, so.
Mark?
That's a good question, only because I'm not familiar with the planning board and the ZBA and some of the other ones that Abby would have to go through outside of just getting approval at town meeting. If it weren't an APR, which board would he be going to first?
Probably ZBA for a variance, and then planning board.
And then work through,
And then at some point, conservation gets involved, but usually in conjunction with planning board, and those are usually running parallel.
so, and I think the agreement referenced all those boards and committees. So if it were me, I'd probably start going down that path with the understanding that some or all may say no at each path. But I think starting here, when at the end of the day, we're going to lean on town meeting to help guide us, like it has, may just cause more frustrations on everybody's part. So maybe the idea is to go through some of those steps before coming all the way. I mean, all the way coming up here. It's kind of, starting here. In the meantime, you've made some efforts to start getting the 2 parcels in growing condition, which you said last fall you needed to do no matter what. So that would be, if you're looking for a recommendation, that might be my recommendation.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because the APR clearly states that a restaurant's not permitted, so I'm not sure why the zoning board can't,
Yeah,
at least from the zoning board and planning board can't give him
No, but
permission for something
I think
that's
you're,
not
I think,
in
I
the
think you're
APR.
wasting his time and money to send to ZBA that can't, I mean, I appreciate.
It's not
that,
my money,
yeah.
and it's not, you know, I'm just saying, if he was looking to make inroads elsewhere, you know, if you got a no from the ZBA for whatever it is they're responsible for, you know, that's a whole nother set of, you know, issues. Yeah, it's just a recommendation, you know, no one has to agree with it.
And of course, if there was something else that he might propose, short of a restaurant, then, you know, maybe going to the ZBA and the planning board is a path that he can take. That fits within the APR.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody from the audience want to, because I think we've kind of had a, Juliet?
Good evening, everyone. Juliet Mount, 51 Boston Road, directly across from the property. I've written a letter. I'll distribute a copy to each of you, if you'll bear with me a moment.
Can we see it while you're reading? Is that
Oh, of
possible?
course. And I'll try to short cut a
Please.
few little bits, obviously. So.
Yeah. If you- Now that we
Unless
have
there's
it,
new
maybe
information. that,
paraphrase.
I will.
Okay.
It won't be too bad. You're welcome. In 1972, Massachusetts voters approved Article 97, granting people the right to a clean environment and authorizing the Commonwealth to acquire conservation easements. Article 97 was intended to be a legislative check to ensure that lands acquired for conservation purposes were not converted to other inconsistent uses. In kind, Westford established the APRs on Boston Road for the purpose of preserving this agricultural land and our history, as well as a gateway to our community. My concerns are in direct relation to this property and its current condition in two key areas. One, maintaining this as active farmland, most specifically APR 3 that remains in disrepair. Mandate for a USDA-approved soil conservation plan for all three parcels, which the BOS, the Board of Selectmen, had requested no less than 3 times over the past 18 months to Mr. Masalehdan, to date has never been provided. And the second point, adherence to the APRs in the areas of the condition of the property, most specifically the abandoned building and debris that continue to be a public nuisance. The term abandoned is specifically defined in the APRs as land that has not been actively utilized for agricultural uses for a period exceeding 3 years, unless the non-activity is recommended in a current USDA SCS plan, and that the grantors and any successors in title shall be liable for non-compliance with the terms of this restriction, which occurs during the ownership of the premises. Mass General Law, Chapter 139, Section 1, states that the alderman or selectman in any city or town may, after written notice to the owner of a burnt, dilapidated, or dangerous building or other structure, or his authorized agent, or to the owner of a vacant parcel of land, and after a hearing, make and record or judging to its being a nuisance to the neighborhood or dangerous and prescribing its disposition, alteration, or regulation. Relevant Westford Town bylaws include the following. 1, prohibition against nuisances, and I will not go into the details beyond. We've already defined what a nuisance is. But this is a highly visible property in a residential area, and due to neglect, the property qualifies as a public nuisance and in its current state. Section 913, for enforcement, the building commissioner shall institute and take any and all such action as may be necessary to enforce full compliance with any and all of the provisions of this bylaw and of permits, special permits, variances, and site plan approval issued thereunder, etc. Section 914, for penalties, reads, the penalty for violation of any provision of this bylaw, of any of the conditions under which a permit is issued, or any decision rendered by the Board of Appeals, any special permit granting authority, or the Site Plan Approval Board, shall be $300 for each offense. Each day that each violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. Related town bylaws are included and referenced. There are procedures to enforce cleanup of the property which has been abandoned by its owner, including fines up to $300 per day and as otherwise clearly outlined in Mass General Law. It's time that we take action regarding this property. The building must be restored or otherwise properly mitigated and cleaned up. We as neighbors have waited long enough. This property owner has expired his window of delay. The 3 years have gone by. The town has been patient. The Board of Selectmen has been patient. If action is not taken by the owner immediately to correct this, I ask that you formally declare the property a nuisance to the neighborhood and proceed with imposing fines until the property is restored to reasonable order. And it is the responsibility of you, our Board of Selectmen, to take this step in alignment with our constitutional rights. Thank you.
Yes, you can,
Ms. Juliet that stands before you and who's been totally the opposition to me, I met her in her house 2 years ago.
that's,
No, I want to say what I'm saying, please. I met her in her house 2 years ago, and she was all upset that she's going to see the restaurant, and she can raise her hand, swear to Bible, whatever, that I'm lying, but she won't be able to. And she asked me to put up a stone wall in her property, bring in truckloads of loam to elevate her property, and landscape her whole house. Her exact words, she would vote for me, and I also told Jody that time, about a week later, she would vote for me and would get all her neighbors to vote for me. And I told her that she will not see the restaurant, and I bet with her $25,000 to $100,000. She says, no, give me the $100,000, and I will vote for you. Go ahead, raise your hand and swear that you did not say it.
I never said that.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
So
Thank you for
just to
lying.
clear the point, this
You've been
conversation.
total opposition for my project because you said that I'm going to be using the well water, you won't have any water in your house. Okay? And what I just repeated, they were exact words that came out of your mouth after we met the other neighbors, the Indian people, that I came to your house, right? And you said that you sit on your rocking chair every morning and you drink your coffee, you look at the horizon, I said, you're gonna have a beautiful piece of property over there.
this
You're gonna
is-
be actually farmed.
Okay, this is-
No, it's been bothering
but no,
me
but
for
this
2
is-
years.
this is not-
She's become a total opposition to my project.
I understand.
And she's,
But this is not,
it's
this is,
bothering
okay,
me.
this is, I understand, this is not helpful. This is not relevant to getting things moving forward. And it's all hearsay, which we can't respond to. So, thank you. Are there any other comments from the audience? Okay, so, do we have a Solomonic decision?
Like, one last
Okay,
comment. So, I'm not going to vote to declare this a nuisance. This property today, relative to 3 years ago, is 100% better than it was.
2 years ago.
Two years ago. Feels like 10 years ago. Is 100% better than it was 2 years ago. Is there more work to do? Absolutely. At this point in time, I told you what my recommendation would be. I'd continue to try to improve those two parcels, put together your plan for whatever it is you want to do on the third parcel, and take it to whomever you feel is appropriate to take it to. At this point in time, in the absence of any other information, I don't want to have any more conversations about this, because there's a group of people who are clearly in opposition, and that's completely their right. That's why I would recommend going down a different path, and see what happens.
any other comments?
So my advice would be to figure out the legal way that satisfies all the concerns that have come up about the APR, releasing the APR, fair way to dispose of that APR, to turn this into development land. Figure out what that process is that will satisfy everything and let the voters decide. But doing it through a citizen's petition in a way that circumvents what's been written into the APR, and the APR is there to protect the town, that's not going to do it. It has to satisfy what all the lawyers have advised us. I mean, I know there are a lot of different opinions, but that's how complicated it is. And
Buy APR back and put a sidewalk in there, $175,000 for the APR that the town paid, and plus spend $150,000 to put a sidewalk in there. So that's
right, and
what
I don't think that's the legal way to do it.
So I think that's,
Okay, Tom, do you have any comments?
I think my only comment is if we're looking for guidance, I think I don't see an alternative to pursuing the same process as before, because ultimately the voters are going to have to decide. And I guess the advice I would give would be to try to build as much consensus and try to address as many legal or other issues ahead of time. So when you do get before the town meeting, the voters have all that information. But the voters have taken a position on this, and I don't think there's a way forward except ultimately to go back to them again and ask if, with new information, they've changed their position.
Okay. Two more, and then we're going to call this a wrap. So,
Yeah, I'm not going to bother to respond to the nonsense
No, I would
that was
prefer you-
stated there,
yep.
so we'll leave that alone. But we as neighbors in this area, and none of you live near this building. Those of us that are here and are considered nuisances, unfortunately, by Mr. Cost.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
You just said.
I did not call you a nuisance. I said I would not declare the property a nuisance.
Okay. My apologies.
Don't ever imply that I have said anything like that.
My apologies. It, my interpretation, I guess. Okay. Case in simple, reality is that we, who are actually impacted by this property on a daily basis, have a right to representation. You, as our Board of Selectmen, have that responsibility. That is your responsibility. So, you now have a formal request in your hands. We'll be looking forward to action because we have waited long enough. This has been over 3 years, by the way. Mr. Masalehdan inherited it just over 2 years ago, but the building has been in this condition for over 3 years now because it was damaged in the storm the winter of 2015 with the 9 feet of snow that we got. That's what broke through the glass. That's what happened to that building. And after that, it was never repaired. That abandonment has expired. It is stated in the APRs what the legal guidelines are. The request is clear. Thank you.
Diane Hendricks, 11 Crown Road. I just have a quick point. Mr. Masalehdan has offered to pay for the APRs for $150,000. The development rights in the APR for that land are worth millions of dollars, and I don't think that the town should give away this land for free. I want to see it kept conservation land, but if the proper channels go through and that land is released, he needs to pay market value for it if it ever gets to that point.
thank you. So, my opinion, the land's been a problem for a long time. It's been more than 3 years. I mean, that it's been an issue. It is better today than it was 3 years ago. It probably is a lot different today than it was a year ago. But, so I grant you the progress was made and stopped. And I think, it stopped for a reason of trying to figure out what you want to do with that APR 3. So I'm not inclined to declare a building a nuisance when there's a plan that works to do something with it. I would suggest you do something relatively quickly. I would suggest you bear in mind the town meeting vote, which was that there's no interest in a large restaurant, and I think there was a lot of discussion about the value of the land in terms of paying back the town the development rights seem to be less than the full extent of the value of the land. So I think we need to have a new proposal. I don't think we can tell you what the proposal should be. I would hope that between you and perhaps a very wise land development attorney, you could craft something that would go back, look at the tape of town meeting and see what perhaps people were open to. Talk to the abutters again and see what they're open to. But I can't tell you what the town wants, and unfortunately, I think you have to do some of your own legwork there.
If the land was worth $1 million, why didn't anybody buy it before I bought it?
We're done.
I think that's a rhetorical question, but, so for tonight, we're not going to put a nuisance, but, yeah, I would suggest that patience is not eternal, and it is time to think about what is a workable plan for the site. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item up on the agenda